Now, what do we do when we experience something that really crushes our heart and our spirit? When we feel so low, there's nothing that we can experience besides sadness. Now, whether you're an atheist, a Christian, or agnostic, it doesn't make a difference because we're all going to experience sadness. Every single one on the planet, something bad is going to happen to you. That's because we live on a broken world where there's sin and there's spiritual forces that want to destroy our lives. That is the world that we live in. But that doesn't mean that we have to be overcome with sadness, and that doesn't mean that our life is over. Actually, that's the opposite. God is going to help us through this season of sadness so that we can become joyful again. But part of that actually depends on us and how we behave with God. So the first thing we have to know is that God wants us to release our whole heart to Him and just let it out. It says this in Psalm 5. O Lord, hear me as I pray. Pay attention to my groaning. Listen to my cry for help, my King and my God, for I pray to no one but you. Listen to my voice in the morning, Lord. Each morning I bring my requests to you and wait expectantly. It is important for us to bring our entire heart to God. He wants to listen, He wants to hear, and this actually helps us process sadness. If we're not able to let out our emotions, we actually become stuck and cramped inside and we explode because of this sadness and sorrow. And that is not what God wants. God did not create us to keep all our emotions inside. At the same time, God doesn't want us to just dump everything on our friends or family because that's going to wear them out. But God does want us to take everything we're feeling, even the ugly and nasty things inside of us, and He wants us to give it to Him. And that's going to help us. King David was famous for writing psalms that showed all different types of emotions, going from up all the way down where he's angry at God. But when we're actually able to do that and tell God how we're feeling, He's going to help us understand how there's hope in our life and move us through to the next phase. So it says this in Lamentations 2:18-19. Cry aloud before the Lord, O walls of beautiful Jerusalem. Let your tears flow like a river day and night. Give yourselves no rest, give your eyes no relief. Rise in the night and cry out. Pour out your hearts like water to the Lord. Lift up your hands to Him in prayer, pleading for your children, for in every street they are faint with hunger. Now, God knows that we're experiencing hardship, and this is the time when we have to just let everything out so that we can start to move forward. Because if we have resentment in our hearts, if we have this unfinished anger within us, God can't help us get through this hardship. We need to let everything out. Take a couple days, take a week, take longer if you have to, but bring your heart to God continuously so that He can get everything out of you. Next, in Lamentations 3:20, it says, I will never forget this awful time as I grieve over my loss. Yet I still dare to hope when I remember this. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is His faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. I say to myself, the Lord is my inheritance. Therefore, I will hope in Him. Hope is the key for us to getting through our sadness. In the beginning of the lamentation, there was no such thing as hope. He had to let it all out. But then gradually, God began to give him hope so that he could see with God's eyes what can happen in the next stage of his life. So, for you and for me, even though it's hard, even though we don't understand, there is hope in our situation because God is still moving. And long as you draw breath on this planet, there is hope for you and for your future. And finally, in Psalm 12, it says this, the Lord replies, I have seen violence done to the helpless, and I have heard the groans of the poor. Now I will rise up to rescue them as they have longed for me to do. So as you experience injustice, as you experience hardship and pain, remember that the Lord is fighting for you on your side. It may not be the way that you want it done, but God does see you and God is acting on your behalf. So take heart, let all your sadness out, begin to get filled with hope, and see how the Lord is going to act in your life.